Live from Soho, New York City, it's Wearable Electronics with Becky Stern.
Hi, Becky Stern. Welcome to the show. Each week we bring you some awesome wearable electronics. Phil, this is Phil. What's on today's show?
On today's show, we'll be talking about a GPS watch. Hence, the code is WATCH. Code expires tonight at 11:59 p.m. 10% off everything in the Adafruit store in the Wearables and Flora section. Always have to remember to say that. We're going to talk about Maker Faire. We were there. You were there. A lot of people were there. Wearable electronics were in effect. We'll talk about that.
They were there.
Next up, of course, all the things in Wearable Wednesday, from our video to the projects that we're doing this week to all sorts of things around the web, and of course, like I said, Maker Faire. Component of the week.
We bring you a component, something cool that you can hook up to do some electronics. This week, it has to do with our Flora watch.
The Flora.
Dun, dun, dun.
Material Spotlight.
We pick a material that's cool, conductive, can be used as a sensor or whatnot, and share it with you so you can ask questions.
That's right. And speaking of,
and at the end, we'll have questions and answers. Questions that are preloaded from last week that you have left on YouTube or Google Plus or Facebook, and we will answer them. And the people who get their questions answered get entered in a giveaway.
That's right. All that and more on Wearable Electronics with Becky Stern. Okay.
Hooray!
Woof, we're here.
So everything we're going to talk about today has a link in the description below. If you're watching on the blog, it's also in the blog post below. And if you want to ask questions, you can ask them at any time via Twitter, Google Plus, or YouTube, and we will use those questions for a future show. If your question is selected, you will be entered to win a giveaway. And today we're giving away a Flora board. So let's just hop right into the Wearable Wednesday events of this past week. I would say Maker Faire is pretty fresh on our minds.
Yeah, Maker Faire is a big deal. We have history with Maker Faire. We were both part of the Make family and still part of the Make family, but there was a Maker Faire in New York City. Over 70,000 people showed up.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It was the fourth time that they had the Maker Faire in New York. And it's in Queens at the New York Hall of Science, and it's like slowly taking over more and more of Corona Park, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I was there on Friday to check out the makers and support some of my students who were exhibiting some things, and saw a lot of great stuff and that we put on the blog.
Yeah, one of the cool things too was I kind of measure time in Maker Fairs now.
Right.
And
I've lost count of how many Maker Fairs I've been to.
And to see kind of the trends within Maker Faire evolve. So there was like the laser cutter trend. Everything had like a laser cutter component, and then there was like shop bots and things that kind of came in, and then there were the Arduino projects, and then LEDs.
Now it's 3D printing.
And then 3D printing has been like it held strong for a while. Now we're starting to see the next things like more personal stuff, more business stuff like Kickstarters. Big sponsors are part of Maker Faire now. Lots of people starting small companies and quickly getting funding. And then those are like maker professionals.
Right.
Very interesting to see. Disney was the premier sponsor, but there was also tons of familiar folks like Atmel, and they're really interested in wearables. And that was one of the things as I walked around and they recognized Lamore, maybe me, and you probably got it, is a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, that's something I'm doing now.
Right.
I'm starting to get into this more now because it's finally easy and it's arrived.
Yeah.
So I figured.
Well, people would ask me that or tell me that because I was wearing.
Yeah, you were wearing most of the inventory.
Yeah. I was wearing inventory.
All right. So speaking of, this was a really cool project that you picked out.
No, you picked this one out.
I picked this one out. Sorry.
This one wasn't set up when I went to go see it on Friday.
This was it's a 32U4 board, which this is before we had Flora, and it has a lot of components, and it's a wireless sensor glove, and it was really neat. It was neat to see all the components work together, and we'll have a follow-up post later on the blog. But it has some touch pads. It has a fingerprint input. It has a another type of resistor and a touch sense, so you can basically use it as a remote glove for all sorts of things.
I see a
Yeah.
mini, an Arduino micro in there.
Yeah.
And then at the paella dinner, I spotted this guy, Sam Freeman, works for Make Labs, wearing a pair of Phil B's Kaleidoscope Eyes LED goggles. And I told him that I was embarrassed a little because I was wearing the Gemma earrings that are running the same animation.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if that was kind of like wearing the same dress to a party.
Yeah, everyone can't come from the same GitHub pull.
Right. Well, I mean, we had different colors going on, but yeah, it was nice to see the goggles represented. It's a very popular project. I'm noticing that everywhere we go, we see a pair of Phil B's goggles.
Yeah, it is going to be like arriving to the party in the same chariot.
Well, that's the thing. It's so funny that like all this stuff is supposed to be so bespoke and personal, but like because everybody wants to make this project, you're likely to run into someone who's made the same project. And it works. And it works flawlessly. So I don't know what to tell you. It's like it's gotta be like cool. Cool, you're wearing the same goggles.
Yeah. The other thing is the fact that we have this code base that's really solid means you have a better chance of actually going and having your project because you finished it. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. You can actually go and have your goggle project and like just it's more kind of putting components together and then making your cool thing. Not like okay, I'm almost going to be done with this next year.
Right, so you don't have to start from scratch. You can build on top of it, so that's cool. Another cool thing that happened this week that was not a Maker Faire, but was on the Adafruit blog, on our Wearable Wednesday blog series. You can click the link in the description below to find all of our cool things we post up for Wearable Wednesday. This is actually a show viewers, Pixel 3D, as a design duo, posted up this cool project they're working on where they needed a case for the Flora to put it in some kind of like handle thing, and they made this 3D printed case for Flora that also allows the tactile on-off switch to face out the top. And there's a really cool little Instagram video on the blog of this case, and their design files are up on Thingiverse.
Yeah, and it pops off. It's really nice the way it holds the case together.
Usually I tell people, they're like, they see my earrings or they see something and they because 3D printing is so popular, they're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if you could 3D print some nylon diffuser for that thing? And like I'm like, yes, but it's more plastic stuff on my body, and I like to go super minimal, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's a time and a place for 3D printing and Flora, and like this is totally it. The project that they're working on really calls for it to be enclosed with a foolproof button on top, and so that's really great.
I like it. All right, and then this week we're about to debut, I think, one of the coolest projects to date. What is this, Becky?
This is a watch that Tyler Cooper and I built together. We've been previewing it to you guys for a couple of weeks now, but it's finally done and it's out today, and we have a video, so we should just play it.
Yeah. Here we go.
Do you ever think you could make your own timepiece? Watch this. You can make your own watch with the Flora GPS, NeoPixel ring, and a few other parts from Adafruit. The Pixel ring is exactly the same size as Flora, our wearable Arduino compatible board. The compact circuit packs a bunch of parts right up against each other, so it's best to prototype your circuit with alligator clips, then test as you build after adding each module, ensuring it's connected properly and working before gluing anything over it with E6000, our favorite adhesive. The GPS lives in the center of the Pixel ring, and together they sit back to back with the Flora board. Stick the motion sensor to the center of the front of Flora with a bit of foam tape. A tactile switch enables you to change modes on the watch. Just press and hold the face to toggle between timekeeping, GPS navigation, and compass modes. We found a variety of leather watch bands on Etsy and glued strips of fabric to the Flora that act kind of like belt loops, holding it to the band. A tiny battery can be tucked elsewhere in the cuff, and then you're ready to wear it. The watch fetches the current time from a GPS satellite, so when it first powers on, make sure it can see the sky. Then it keeps time with one LED for hours and another for minutes. Much like our city bike helmet project, the watch can direct you to a destination using the GPS and compass together. So follow along on the Adafruit Learning System to build your own GPS watch and even customize the program to make your own watch faces. Don't forget to subscribe to the Adafruit channel on YouTube because we'll be watching. Get it? Watching.
All right, excellent project.
I want to apologize for the amount of puns in that video. I promise I'll make it up to you.
Yeah, watch out, Becky. It's time
you
move
that's
on.
The problem. I made like the same.
The clock is ticking.
I said I'm sorry. I'm sorry for even more puns.
Yeah. Well, don't let it happen again next time. We're here all week.
Anyway,
Try
so
the prime
this
rib.
is the watch project, and for once, unlike most of the, I will admit to you guys that for most of the things we make, I can't wear them every day, right? Like, how often am I going to wear a light up skirt out and around? And if I wear the sneakers, I get like stopped on the street all the time. So, I really am enjoying this watch for its actual practicality. I've been wearing it around for the last 2 weeks, and yeah, I broke it, and then I fixed it, and then I put the notes about you not breaking it in the tutorial, so that you get, so we've been like road testing it, and I actually like wearing it. It looks cool. I wear it on the subway while the LEDs are on, and like nobody's looking at me like, what kind of freakazoid project are you wearing? Like they do when I'm wearing the skirt or the sneakers. So I hope you like it, and I hope you build one. And so we have some more pictures from the guide. The full tutorial is linked in the description below, but basically like the NeoPixel ring is the exact same size as the Flora, which is the kind of inspiration for this project. And the first thing I did when the NeoPixel ring came across my desk was put the Flora GPS in the middle of it, because it's like exactly the right size. And so Tyler and I were thinking about all the other things this sort of circuit could be used for also, because with the accelerometer and the compass and the GPS, you could make a running timekeeper that you put on your shoe. And so we're thinking of like more projects we can make with the same hardware setup. But it was a really fun project to build and test also, because we got to like program in a waypoint and see if it's pointing you that way, and walk around outside and go for lots of dog walks. So look forward to more projects with this same circuit setup in the future. It's very similar to the City Bike helmet circuit, actually.
All right, time to move on. Okay. Okay, component of the week.
Speaking of Flora, the component of the week is Flora.
Yeah.
I know it seems redundant because maybe you know, but we'll tell you. The Flora is our wearable electronics platform that's Arduino compatible with the 32U4 microcontroller that can act like a keyboard. And so we've been making tons and tons of really cool projects with it.
It's today's prize, too, at the end of the show.
Yes, so one lucky winner will win a Flora board, and we have a short video that introduces you to Flora. This is Flora. It's Adafruit's wearable electronics platform that's made right here in New York City at the Adafruit factory. The Flora main board is small enough to embed in any wearable project, and it has large pads for connecting our premium stainless steel thread. The pads are laid out to make it easy to connect sensors, like the Ultimate GPS, this motion sensor, or the Flora light sensor. But our favorite so far has got to be these addressable, color-changing LED pixels. They're designed to be daisy-chained and easy to sew. Flora's got an onboard power switch and a protected power supply you can use with battery packs from 3.5 to 16 volts. Since it uses the powerful 32U4 microprocessor, Flora has built-in USB support and can act like a keyboard or mouse just by plugging into its mini USB connector. Flora is perfect for designing your own expressive and functional electronic fashions, interactive plush toys, paper crafts, data logging, and e-textile experiments. Want to learn more about Flora and create amazing wearable electronics projects of your own? Check out our ever-growing tutorial library at learn.adafruit.com and subscribe to the Adafruit YouTube channel for new wearable videos every Wednesday.
Okay, and that's Flora.
Welcome to Flora. We have put one on the overhead if you want to look at it more closely. One thing I've been noticing, recently a lot of people have asked me this same question, and when they hear the answer, they always tell me they feel stupid, so I wanted to just preemptively tell you guys something.
What's that going to be?
A lot of times people, they plug in their Flora and they program their Flora, and then they go to plug in a battery and they go, my Flora stopped working.
Oh.
Flora has a battery switch on board, and it's actually like a super great feature because for the watch we use it as the power switch, and for your project it always powers via USB, but needs to be flipped the switch to power on battery, which means you don't need to install an extra switch and solder to your battery. So I wanted to show you where the switch is. It's this little guy right here.
Yeah, it's super handy because you do lots of stuff tethered when you're doing testing and everything, and then when you're ready to go and do battery,
you have an option to turn it on and off. And so a lot of people, they miss it. That's the switch. It's so tiny. It's a little switch. Tiny, tiny, on, off. Anyway, that's what it looks like.
I'll give you an example of design choices and constraints. So with Gemma, we don't have a lot of room. Gemma doesn't have an on-off switch.
Gemma has a hacky reset button that it needs to be the way it is.
It has a reset button, but that's the interest in Trinket too. And so, when you shrink electronics, eventually it's like it'd be great to have an LED on things, or like a volume knob, or who knows. But you start to have to make really interesting design decisions. So for Flora, we had a little bit more room. So,
we have a little bit more room, but that switch is still really small, which is why most people miss it, which is really funny. So we have a couple pictures of.
Yeah, this is when we launched Flora. This is the beautiful photo by our photographer. Engineer. And then we've got some other fun things like the family here. There's Flora, and there's Gemma, and there's Trinket.
For size comparison, you know. And then one thing I really like is this magnetic pin back that we got to carry in the store that's exactly the right size for Flora. It means that you can make anything into a like a pin.
Yeah.
So we have lots of Gemma pins, the little piezo pin, and then I just wanted to go over the kits we have for Flora. If you're interested in getting started with Flora, this pack is the most complete pack, or it has the most things in it. The Flora GPS starter pack has the most things in it, including the GPS module. It has supplies to make a Flora TV Be Gone also, and 2 different kinds of conductive thread. Then like sort of the next level down from that, but with more sensors, is the Flora sensor pack. And that doesn't have the GPS, but has all of the other sensors, including the accelerometer, the Flora color sensor, the light sensor, some neopixels, so you can make some lights happen based on your sensors, and some conductive fabric and snaps for making capacitive and other switches. And then if you just really want to test the waters, you can pick up our budget pack, which just has the Flora battery pack, alligator clips, needles, and some pixels. That's really great for getting started, or if you're doing a project with a kid, or
And don't forget, everything you've seen here, if it's in stock, which it usually is now, use the code WATCH and you get 10% off. And that's a great deal. So if you wanted to jump in, get going.
The kits are already a good deal, and so with the 10% discount code, it's an extra good deal.
Yeah.
Early holiday shopping, like I like to get all my holiday shopping done. I know it's not October yet, but
Halloween stuff. We're going to see lots of Flora projects for Halloween.
Halloween projects.
The ultimate maker holiday is Halloween.
We think so far in advance in our editorial calendar that we already know what our Halloween projects are going to be.
Wait till you see what we're doing for Columbus Day next year.
So like I'm already past Halloween thinking to Christmas.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
Material Spotlight. This is where I tell you about a cool material you might not have known about before, and show you how to use it or tell you how to use it. And on the overhead, I have put it. Today it is snaps.
Oh, snap. You got me.
Snap. So we got these little tiny snaps. They're 5 millimeters, and they're sewable snaps. So they're the same kind that you would pick up at the craft store, Michael's or whatever, and except that they're extra small. And so I think they're used mainly for like doll making, where like doll clothes have to have little tiny closures. But you might be able to find them at your craft store. They're just really small. And the reason we got them so small, 5 millimeters, because the standard ones I think are 8 millimeters, is so that they would fit on the pads of the Flora. And that's so that you can use snaps instead of sewing your Flora into something, and you can remove it and put it in a different
I've got it on my jacket, which is a tutorial on the Learn system, and I could just pop it off.
Yeah, you can pop it off, and one of the reasons we did that for your jacket was so that because you're a walking advertisement for Flora.
That's right.
When you walk around and people go, "What is that?" You hand it to them.
Yeah.
And
Pop.
It's easier to talk about it, and then you show them how it interacts, and it's just a nice junction between this like hot soldering and cold sewing. So like if you are really into soldering, you can sew the snaps onto the jacket and then solder like a good collaborative thing to do. Those stereotypical couples where one can solder and the other one can sew. You guys could work together. But snaps are really cool, and you can't just use them to mount things onto fabric. You can actually use them to make switches and sensors. So here you see a picture of all of the snaps. But the project that we did, a very simple Flora project, and I recommend it as like the first project that people do, is this all sewing, no soldering embroidery project with Flora and the snap. And the only thing it does is change the color of that light based on the snap. And we have a little video of that.
All right.
Here's a way to add color and light to your spring and summer wardrobe. Use Flora and a little bit of embroidery to make this light-up deep-sea anglerfish on a pair of shorts. It's easy to sew the circuit, and you can even add a snap switch behind the fin. This one changes the color of her lure. And our instructions won't send you on a fishing expedition. Everything you need is at the link in the description below. The battery plugs in through the pocket, and this little extension cable means you won't need to do any soldering. Just remove the battery and turn the shorts inside out before washing. And if you feel like a fish out of water, practice with our introductory guides to Flora, conductive thread, and working with snaps. And soon you'll be dreaming up much bigger fish to fry. And while you're here, why not catch up on a few more episodes of Wearable Wednesday?
All right.
Snaps.
I like it because it's one of those things where you can make a project and then go show it to everybody, and it has functionality. and it also avoids a lot of the challenges when you do a wearable project, like how do you do an on and off switch on a wearable? Well, snaps.
You can use a snap.
Yeah.
And it's nice because it speaks the language of textiles, right? And so like people who know how to sew recognize this snap. And so it's easier to explain to them how, like, and I have a lot of experience teaching electronics to crafters. We look at a thing they already know the mechanical properties of, and you say like, now look at the electrical properties of it. And these are, I believe they're nickel-plated brass, so they're safe to solder. Sometimes they discolor a little bit because the plating shifts around, but they're not zinc or anything. And I don't know, it's just like it's a nice bridge between electronics and crafts. So I like snaps for that reason.
Okay, next up.
It's question time. You have questions, and I have answers. And so if you want to ask a question about anything we talked about today, I'd be happy to answer it next show and enter you in the next giveaway.
Yeah, if you're watching the show right now, either live or already recorded, that means you're in the future. That's kind of interesting. You can post your questions on this video right here. We look at all these things.
I look at them all week, and so I gather up the questions I want to answer for next show. So you can ask them on Google Plus or Twitter or Facebook or right here on YouTube, and we will answer the best questions.
Okay, first question, this is from Mike. I can think of a couple of projects with wearable Wi-Fi. Is Adafruit considering a Wi-Fi add-on for Flora Gemma with the new Wi-Fi plus Arduino package mentioned by Lady Ada in the last Ask an Engineer to be suitable for wearable use? Yes,
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
Mike is really on top of our stuff. He's an author in the learning system.
He's done some fantastic Trinket tutorials, which are actually also Gemma tutorials. Yes, we're absolutely working on some low power, low cost Wi-Fi accessories. It just takes a while. This week, or depending on what part of the timeline in this universe you're in, we're going to be releasing our first Bluetooth product, Bluefruit, and that'll have a whole family of products. So you'll see a lot of interesting things from Bluetooth Low Energy to controllers to everything. So yes, we're on it. It just takes forever.
Yeah, you got to do it right, you know?
Yeah.
So look forward to that soon, Mike. Thanks for asking.
Next up, this is from Shay. I've heard that any Arduino with that Mega 32U4 processor can emulate a USB keyboard. Does that mean that Adafruit Flora can act as the USB keyboard, or does it not have enough pins broken out?
Yes, it can act like a USB keyboard. So if you look at our plush game controller project, you can see that it uses the 8 inputs that are available on the Flora board to make 8 capacitive touch sensing buttons. There would be ways to in the code to do different things to get more outputs, but as it stands now, you can make like a keypad or whatever you want. Yes, and yes, because of USB HID support on the 32U4.
All right, this is a question for you. Greetings from England. The Flora uses NeoPixel, which are RGB, which can make any color. However, people that are heavily into clubbing scene often wear UV black light reflective fabrics and paint for extra effect. While the blue LEDs often emit a small amount of UV, the colors are tainted by the blue. Is there a plan to add a fourth channel to the NeoPixel to allow a black light strobe or some sort of variable black light soft spotlights for the wearables?
I like this guy's question because it's not about how can I glow brighter, but how can I make everyone else in the club glow brighter.
Yeah, that's cool.
And while the NeoPixels are going to stick to RGB, because that's how you make any color of the rainbow and invisible light spectrum, I could see us, we are working on like sewable LED single LEDs, not with a control chip inside, that are just a color, red or green, and we're thinking of doing IR ones too. And so like thanks for your suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, we have the TV Be Gone IR LEDs right now. They're just not sewable.
They're not sewable. So we're thinking of making a sewable kind, but also we could go the other way too, IR, and we could also go UV for just this, like where, you know.
We're not scared of other wavelengths here.
I'm a little bit afraid of UV wavelengths. I don't know if you guys notice my complexion. I know you are Italian, so you're fine. But,
I go from pale to dark in a matter of minutes.
So like maybe I haven't made that project yet because making it would give me a sunburn. Yeah. But it's a cool idea, thanks.
Okay. Next up. Is there a Flora reseller in France? Please. Yes.
I read that more as, is there a Flora reseller in France?
Yeah. The answer is yes. If you go to the, this is a neat kind of Adafruit tip on how to use the site. If you go to the page on Flora where the product is, hit distributors, and you'll see all the distributors that have Floras. And we did a really neat job with how to help people in their local areas find where there's a Flora. So Europe is filled with places that can give it to you, and in Europe it's a little bit easier to order stuff there than have it shipped overseas. So absolutely, and if you can't find it, that's okay too. You can go to the distributor map These are all the Adafruit distributors. We have like 500 distributors now. It is intense.
Amazing.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. All right, moving right along. Want to make sure we keep on
I know
time.
you guys are worried about your import taxes and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Becky, what kind of adhesive would you recommend for attaching an RGB LED flexi strip to cotton fabric? I've tried to use the adhesive included on the strip, but found it not very well to work with this option, with cotton, sorry.
the reason that the adhesive on the RGB flexi strip you're using does not bond well with cotton is because it's not what you're supposed to use it for.
Yeah.
So that stuff is meant, that lighting strip, he's talking about the weather resistant stuff with the 3M adhesive strip on the back.
Not meant to stick to that.
It's not really meant to stick to fabric, and it's not meant to flex a whole lot either. So unless you are making a like a really structured hoop skirt with like a wooden or plastic frame, this strip is probably not the thing you should be using for your project. That said, say you are making a structured hoop skirt with a wooden or plastic frame, I would use zip ties, or I would stitch around it perpendicular to the strip every couple of inches or so to keep it close to the fabric. But if you're putting it on a cotton garment and expecting it to bend repeatedly, or it's in a skirt, you could end up breaking the strip, and it's just going to lead to a world of heartache. So I recommend our sewable NeoPixels for that. Even if you solder to them with stranded wire, it gives you a more flexible situation. Or the latex ribbon if you're not looking for it, because most of that strip we have is analog, so it's like they're all the same color.
All the same.
So
They're not individually addressable.
Right. So if you're into just glowing, then like you could use the latex ribbon or the other wire strands we have. But I don't know.
And here's one other thing. This is such a new frontier. You are all pioneers, and there's no wrong way to do things. There's only new information we're going to gain, because we just did the Firewalker shoes, and we had to figure out how to make those stick to shoes. You know what's not online until now? A tutorial about like possibilities for this stuff.
And how to deal with the bendy part of the shoe versus the other part of the shoe. So like I don't know. Just be careful and know that stuff like will crack if you bend it this way, and if you bend it too many times, it'll crack and it'll break your heart. And I just don't want your heart to be broken.
Yeah, wearable electronics will not hurt your feelings. If you're good to it, it'll be good to you.
I try to make sure it doesn't hurt your feelings.
All right.
I really try hard.
So wrapping up the show, just a reminder, the code is WATCH. Code expires tonight at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. The code is WATCH. 10% off everything in the Adafruit store in the Flora and Wearable section.
Is that the last question? I thought we had one more.
That was the last question.
Oh, okay.
That was it. It's time to give away something.
Oh, that part.
We're giving away the Flora.
I have a Flora here.
All right.
And I have my little bucket of my very high-tech giveaway method.
Yeah.
Super fair and random.
Yeah, this is how most lotteries are performed.
But they have like the automatic air. They have like a robot that like spits out the winner.
You're not a robot?
Adabot. It's right there. Okay. Anyway.
All right.
We have a winner.
The winner is...
Oh, it's Calm Warrior 69. It's UV Blacklight Clubbing Dude.
All right. Excellent.
Yay.
Right.
So if you're the winner, you get a Flora, and I would like to send it to you. So you can send a note to support@adafruit.com, or it looks like you commented on YouTube. I will go and send you a message.
Okay. All right.
Congratulations. This is your Flora.
That is another episode of Wearable Electronics with Becky Stern. You'll hear it every week at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is on YouTube, instantly recorded, instantly uploaded.
I love YouTube.
And there for your viewing pleasure.
So if you're watching it in the future, greetings, I am from there. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for watching. Post your questions down below, and we'll answer them next week.
Bye-bye.